Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Geek-Minded Fools. My name's Graham.
And I'm Scott.
As usual, we'll kick off with a visit to Scott in the monkey farm.
Hey, partners, it's time to see what Scott's doing down on his monkey farm.
Welcome, sir, once again to the monkey farm. Bit more upbeat this week.
Hooray!
I have got some super heroic news for you. I've got some news from Beyond the Grave.
Oh, blimey.
And I've got some news about, well, for want of better words, probably one of the shittest things that's ever happened.
Oh. Ghostbusters reboot?
Wait and see.
Alright.
Wait and see. Right, superhero-wise, there's a lot to talk about.
Great.
Now,
I like.
As we always say, we don't ever purport to be on the ball with the news. We just talk about the things that interest us, and whether or not this is out of date or not, I don't really care. I want to talk to you about it today.
Okay.
The Spider-Man cameo's been filmed for Civil War.
Civil War, cool.
Tom Holland,
Indeed, it is
playing him, and he's playing to the correct age for the character, I believe now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Are we going to see him in the suit in Civil War? Are we going to see him? I think they're going to be bloody stupid if we don't. Who's he going to be interacting with? I'm very intrigued. I'm genuinely very excited about Captain America: Civil War. They didn't let us down with Winter Soldier. Incidentally, just as a little aside, did you see that a chap got arrested dressed as the Winter Soldier in London?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, with a gun. He was fully dressed as the Winter Soldier. That's something for you to look up after you leave the monkey farm.
Alrighty then.
That'll interest you, that. What a freak. But his costume was quite good. I don't know who he was trying to kill, but... So yeah, Spider-Man cameo, filmed. That's that done. We're not going to talk too much about that, because it was just more to put it out there so you guys know it's been filmed.
Okay.
Alright. The Justice League Dark movie looks like it's going to be the next follow-on movie from Dawn of Justice.
So they're saying currently, yes.
Now, the Justice League movie was famously always going to be put together by George Miller, wasn't it? Of Mad Max fame.
Yes.
We were going to have Hugh Keys-Byrne, who is obviously the Immortan Joe. He was going to be Martian Manhunter, wasn't he?
Oh, okay.
Armie Hammer was going to be Batman, I believe. And there were a few other names in there as well. Oh, Common, who's is a rapper, was going to play Green Lantern.
Okay.
Which was quite interesting. Where are they going to go with this Justice League Dark?
Well, Justice League Dark is a title that is currently running in the DC universe, which is the heroes who are the darker end of the spectrum, more magic and sort of dark arts induced. You've got Zatanna, Constantine, just all of those kind of characters, and they're in a title called Justice League Dark, so I'm assuming that this is going to be based on that, so it's going to be them introducing the mystical dark arts side of the DC universe.
That sounds very interesting to me. I like the idea of that. I really do. If Constantine does make an appearance, are they going to bring back
Matt Ryan?
I wonder.
I don't know, because of course he's now had his appearance in Arrow, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Sort of moving over to that side of things. So I don't know, but it's an interesting time. I'm sort of waiting to see. The thing is, comic TV shows and films are so popular. There's such big news at the moment that virtually every other comic we're suddenly hearing, oh, that's been commissioned as a movie, that's been commissioned as a TV show. So it'll be interesting to see how many of these actually make it to the screen, and whether the deluge will inevitably lead to some sort of a fall in quality, and therefore maybe, as was suggested by Steven Spielberg recently, maybe we'll see comic superhero movies go the way of the Western.
Of the Western, indeed, yeah. I mean, for my money, anything that's got Constantine in is going to be good.
You're up for it.
I love the character.
Yes.
So to see him on the big screen, I think they should bring him back as well. He's a good actor. I like him as Constantine.
But of course, controversially, DC are not having their movie equivalents being played by the same people as their TV equivalents. Obviously, they've got somebody else other than Grant Gustin is being cast as the Flash.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that Stephen Amell will be playing Arrow on the big screen. So whether they will be going with Matt Ryan for that role, does seem doubtful, which I think is a big mistake. I think that's where Marvel are really showing how it can be done. Yeah, cross it over. And I don't know if you're up to date with season 2 of The Flash, but
I'm not actually. No, I do need to catch up on it. He's
amazing,
isn't he?
It hasn't skipped a beat, and I think he's superb. And I think that they're clearly developing. I mean, it's a kid-friendly show. It's shown on 8 o'clock over here, so it's kid-friendly. And there's going to be an awful lot of kids that, for them, The Flash is going to be Grant Gustin, and I think they're going to be making a big mistake by suddenly these kids turning up to see these films, these Justice League films, and going, that isn't The Flash.
That's not Flash.
Yeah. So why not? Why not just admit that you screwed up by casting somebody else, apologise to him, promise to cast him in something else, and go with the people you've got in place, because they're doing the business for you.
Yeah, I think the only other problem they've got there is the fact that they're, I mean, as you said, the Flash TV show is very kid friendly, isn't it? And it's I think they're trying to take a darker route, aren't they, with the movie universe in DC?
You can do that and have your TV equivalent being kid friendly, a darker one, but you can still be the same person.
Yeah. I suppose actually, yeah. I mean, with what I've just said in mind, I mean, you've only got to look at the Daredevil TV show to see how uber violent that is compared to maybe your PG and 12 rated Avengers movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, no, actually, yeah, no, you're right. Thor Ragnarok. I still don't know what Ragnarok is.
No.
Is it a place? Is it a thing? Is it a person? Is it a monster? I don't know. I should fucking look this up, shouldn't I?
Google is your friend.
I'll Google it one day.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok is going to be directed by the brilliantly named, and I'm going to just go out there and say it, brilliantly mispronounced by me, Taika Waititi.
Yes.
It's not a name that I've only said once. I've said that a few times on this podcast.
You have.
Because he is one of the stars of one of my favourite movies that's come out in the past few years, actually, What We Do in the Shadows, which tells the story of some vampires living together in a flat share.
Vampire flatmates.
Yes. Which, if you haven't seen it, see it, because it's hilariously funny. He's taking, obviously, directorial duties on the new Thor movie, which is interesting to me.
Yes.
Because from my knowledge of him, he's a comedic writer and comedic director.
What's his track record? So, yeah, interesting. But they've also seen something in him that they like, so we shall see. But,
you've got to remember, we've trod this path before, haven't we, with a director of this type.
Did you say before?
Did I? I did, didn't I?
Pun intended.
Pun massively intended. We have tread this path before. Obviously with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man, taking what is effectively a comedic director and writer and putting him into this superhero realm. So it'd be interesting to see what he comes up with. I think he's definitely got the chops to do it. He's a great writer. Yeah. He's obviously a great director as well. They wouldn't have picked him. What else have we got here for you this week, sir? Hang on, let me just go through this box of news that's just come in.
Delivery from the News Dragon.
Indeed. The News Dragon. I like the News Dragon. Brilliant. He's that invisible thing that keeps delivering the boxes. Okay. Right, that's Pete's Dragon, isn't it? B.D. Wong. You know that name?
I do. Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. I thought he was so poorly misplayed and cast in the last one.
I thought that made perfect sense.
I don't like him being the bad guy.
When you're creating life, it's very easy to get a God complex. Let's face it, God created life and he got a God complex.
He did.
So I can see that. That to me made sense as a character arc for him in that film, And also the fact that he was being asked to do more and more crazy, ridiculous things. And then, what's his face, Vincent D'Onofrio said, right, you're now working for me. So when you're the guy with the God complex working for the bad guy, I think, But to me, that made sense. I know you weren't a fan.
Just after D'Onofrio said, can I have a cup of water? I some sugar. And then shot himself in the head on the toilet. I love Vincent D'Onofrio, I really do. Well, B.D. Wong, anyway, we just completely went off on a tangent then. B.D. Wong has been cast in Gotham as...
Go on.
Hugo Strange.
The non-Asian Batman villain.
That would be him? Yes. Am I right in saying Hugo Strange is the only other person really to have kind of beaten Batman? No, he's the only person who knows his true identity.
Secret identity, because he's like the smart guy, isn't he?
He is the smart guy. B.D. Wong is not the choice I would have made for this role.
But we shall see.
We shall see.
Whole judgment.
No, we shall
judge see. Not, lest ye be judged.
I mean, in fact, this kind of leads on to my next bit of news, because I remember a few years back seeing a mock-up of a particular actor as Hugo Strange and thinking, wow, that would be good. And it was Robin Williams.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I can see.
He would have been a great Hugo Strange, I think. I think he would have played the role perfectly. And the reason that leads me on to my next bit of news is because Robin Williams has kind of nixed Disney from beyond the grave, as it were.
Ooh, okay.
His will has now prevented Disney from making another Aladdin sequel. For at least the next 25 years, anyway.
Right.
His will states that all the leftover voiceover work that he did for Aladdin, because there is hours and hours and hours Purportedly, he was doing 30 jokes per minute.
Okay.
That's some hardcore joking going on there. Some high-speed jokery. Yeah, he's basically said that, none of this material can be used for at least 25 years. So Disney basically going to have to, I don't know, peddle out some other old tired bullshit.
Can you do that, bearing in mind that anything he recorded for them is surely therefore owned by them? Can you tell somebody in your will that they can't use something that they own?
Do you know, I don't know. I'm not a will lawyer
I'm not sure how that would stand up.
I'd imagine he'd had something in contract, I'd imagine, previous to his death to state, this is as much my intellectual material as it is Disney's. So okay. I don't know. I mean, for whatever the wheres and wherefores are regarding it, he's pulled it off from beyond the grave. So Disney will have to, I don't know, roll out some other tired old bullshit until those 25 years roll past.
You could say, where there's a will, there's no way.
Oh, that was absolutely awesome. That was as good as before. Finally this week, Toby Kebbell.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, indeed. Who I love as an actor. I think he's absolutely brilliant. In Dead Man's Shoes, he was just jaw-dropping. He is an amazing actor. It's a shame he didn't have enough to work with in this pile of shit.
In his 10 minutes of screen time.
Yes, and as I said at the top of the Monkey Farm, one of the shittest things to happen ever, which was Fant4stic.
Indeed.
Fantastic Four, the absolute abomination of a movie, which I would imagine has destroyed careers left, right and centre. If not, it should have done. But Toby Kebbell has come out and basically said that the fans weren't wrong. They're spot on the money with their kind of reviews of the film, and he feels incredibly bad that the fans didn't get what they want. But what I found interesting about the story is, after release of Fantastic Four, Toby Kebbell was saying, he would be receiving maybe 4 to 6 to 8 scripts every other week. But after the release of the Fantastic Four film, the amount of scripts he was getting offered has dwindled. It's sometimes down to getting no script sent to him, for a 2 or 3 week period. Isn't that amazing? How
a bomb can affect careers? Yeah.
Because he's not a terrible actor. He's an amazing actor. He's a good young actor. I think he's got a lot left to do in his career. I really hope that this one film doesn't completely and utterly ground him. I don't think it will, obviously, but I mean, I just found it very interesting to hear that from an actor's point of view. To just how much a bomb can affect a career.
Without wanting to sound like a broken record, we've said it before, I don't believe that the failure of Fant4stic could be laid at the feet of the actors.
No, definitely not.
To me, it was a poor script. It was clearly poorly put together. There was studio interference. There was an awful lot wrong with that, but actors can only deliver the script that's put in front of them and are only shown on screen in the way that the filmmakers decide to edit them, and I don't think anybody absolutely dropped a bollock in terms of performance in that. So
no, and in fact Toby Kebbell was probably one of the stronger things of the film.
Well, bear in mind, as we say, he was barely in the bloody thing, so
a shame for Mr. Kebbell. But Toby, if you are listening, which I know all the stars listen to our podcast, we still love you, mate. We think you're absolutely brilliant. Yes. Sir, have you got anything you would like to add this week? Because I'm going to allow you each week now, your own little chance to shine.
My little thing. What I do, funnily enough.
Well, go on then. Give it to us.
And it only because it's frankly somebody, if you can describe them as somebody, who I don't really give a shit if they die or not. Fucking Deadpool. My least favourite superhero in the entire world.
Go on.
Obviously, I'm not a fan of the character anyway.
No.
But I think part of that is due to the way the character is. But also, you know that I'm the sort of person that the more people say to me, "Oh, you must watch this film, you must watch this TV show," the less likely I'm to
push you away from it further.
Exactly. I'm famously anti-following the herd. I will deliberately walk in the other direction of the herd.
Yeah.
And he's now, obviously people are very excited about the movie, but in terms of comics, he's now very much suffering from overkill. Now,
is this one of the villains?
Very good. One topic I'd like to do fairly soon is comic variant covers, because for those that don't know, in the early 90s we had a speculator boom in comics, which is when comics became so popular and certain comic characters became so popular that they just started publishing ridiculous numbers. I mean, the first issue of Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, 1 million copies. Rob Liefeld's X-Force, 1 million copies. Jim Lee's X-Men, 1 million copies. There weren't 1 million people buying these copies. It was people buying numerous copies of them because comics had started to develop a back issue market whereby something that came out 2 months ago that you bought for £2 was now worth 20 quid because it was under ordered and therefore supply was outweighed by demand.
Yeah.
And so suddenly they were worth lots of money. However, if you print 1 million copies of a comic, you're never going to have 1 million people wanting it, and so they aren't going to go up in value.
No.
So what happened was they were having these massive great print runs because famously what was said was one to read and one to bag. You bagged one, didn't touch it and sold it when your comic collection. And all these people jumped into the comics industry because they thought we can make loads of money. You know, comic is almost like art now. You know, we can make money off it. And so all these comics, the sales suddenly went up overnight from 40,000 to 100,000 to 500,000. And the comic industry were just creating more and more because they thought it's all these people buying them. And it wasn't. It was the same number of people just buying multiple copies.
Yeah. And
it nearly killed the industry.
Yeah.
You know, when you consider how big Marvel is now, Marvel was in bankruptcy. Marvel was in administration. Marvel was literally days away from shutting down and ceasing to be. All of their characters would have stopped. There would be no Marvel comics. There would be no Marvel movies if this had happened.
I don't want to live in that world.
They were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And so it nearly killed the industry because it was just so many different covers, and they would bring out foil covers, and one comic would have 8 different covers. And the trouble is we seem to be going back to that now. We seem to be going back to an industry where you've got, particularly with things like the Secret Wars ones, you would buy Secret Wars and it would list the 12 different variant covers. You know, this current action figure variant, you know, the variant by this person, you know, classic variant, and all these variants. And very few comics now come out with just one cover. They'll have at least another one, but possibly, like I say, up to a ridiculous amount. Back then, in the early 90s, the popular characters were the likes of Spider-Man, Punisher and Wolverine. Spider-Man, Punisher and Wolverine were always guest starring in other comics because it would mean you could bump your sales. That's happening to Deadpool. A few years ago, we had Deadpool variants where Deadpool appeared on variant covers of all the other Marvel titles. That's happening again. In a couple of months, it's Deadpool variant month again. Deadpool already has, I think it's 3 ongoing titles out there. This month's previews had 2 pages exclusively to Deadpool trade paperbacks and hardcovers and Deadpool this and Deadpool that. And I just think it's overkill. And if I hate a character already, overkill will make me hate it even more. Yeah. Which is why the latest news about Deadpool made me absolutely incensed.
Go on.
Which is, comics are being brought out with Deadpool variant covers.
Okay.
Each cover is a page of a 20-page story. Which means in order to read a 20-page Deadpool story, you need to buy 20 comics.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Isn't that insane?
I can understand variant covers. I get that. But that's exactly what they should be. They should be a variant cover. It's your choice to buy them. You shouldn't have to buy them if you want to know a story.
But the trouble is, when you've got... People are speculating. People are buying them, not because they want them, but because they think...
Well, they're investment.
Yes, this is a 1 in 25 variant. For every 25 of the original cover, there's only one of these, so they're rarer. So I'm going to buy them, because I can buy them for $8.99 now, in the hope that in 10 years' time, this will be worth £300.
Yeah.
And it's not. And yet people are doing this again and again and again, and it's speculators coming in, and actually, you know, rather than proper collectors, it is your speculators coming in, and I just why there's going to be a bust. But the idea that if you're a Deadpool completist and you have to buy 20 comics because each cover represents 1 page of a 20-page story, screw that. And that is why I think cashing in is a very dangerous thing, and I'd like to do a topic about it.
Just for my mind here, these 25 covers, because you say he's got 3 titles currently running, are they all across the one title, or is this...
I don't know.
You don't know how it works. Okay,
I don't know how they're doing it, but it's variant covers.
Obviously, they will have comics inside these covers. It's not just...
But they're all variants, which means you're buying the normal Deadpool comics. In order to get this story, you have to buy a comic again in order to get an additional story.
That is absolutely disgusting.
So therefore you're having to buy 20 additional comics to be able to read a 20-page story. And I think that's shocking.
That is a great bit of news, sir. You've surpassed yourself, and it's for that reason and that reason alone. So I'm going to allow you to lock up the monkey farm this week. I'm off.
Get out.
You don't get to use the words.
No, yet. Right then.
You can have the keys, but you can't have the words. So lock up.
Bless you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And now we should move on to this week's Quick Hits.
Quick Hits.
And we shall begin with you.
It is my turn this week, isn't it?
It is.
All right. I am going to talk very, very briefly this week, sir, about a TV show that was 10 episodes long, I believe. I think it was 10 episodes. I watched it relatively quickly. Narcos.
Oh, yes.
God, that was good.
On Netflix.
Oh, it was enjoyable. Netflix, I've just wow. Well done, Netflix.
They're owning it right
They
now.
are owning it. I mean, you don't need your BBCs or your ITVs or your Sky TVs anymore.
What's that all that for?
I don't know.
Your BBCs.
You don't need your BBCs. You only need your Netflixes. Narcos was an absolutely jaw-droppingly stunning show. It's basically kind of a chronicled look at the exploits of Pablo Escobar. Mm-hmm. For those of you who are not in the know, he was Big Daddy Nose Powder, wasn't he? He was like the Colombian drug lord.
Yeah,
and what a character. Not a nice character, but what a character. It opens up with Pablo Escobar and his kind of, I think he's his cousin. It is his cousin, but also as well kind of his henchman. And it's explaining how they built their business of basically trading in drugs. Because previously to that, they were trading in, electronics and equipment for stereos and things like that, and foodstuffs and alcohol, and they were, transferring these across the border and making money, and they had everyone paid off, the army, the police, everyone. And then, of course, you get this amazing light bulb moment that Pablo Escobar has when he's shown just how much money you can make from cocaine, which was obviously hugely, hugely profitable. It's kind of told from the perspective of a character called Steve Murphy, who I'm yet to look into this, but Steve Murphy is one of the DEA agents. Whether or not this was a real person, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but he's played by a chap called Boyd Holbrook, who actually looks a bit like what I would imagine Macaulay Culkin would look like now had he have not been such a fuck-up.
Oh, okay.
He's a very, very, very good actor, I must say, this lad. He plays the put-upon DEA agent very well. But I think the massive, massive kudos points have to go to a guy called Wagner Moura, who plays Pablo Escobar. My God, does he look like Escobar. When you see these TV shows, sometimes they glam things up a bit, and during the 70s, obviously it was quite a glamorous time. It was quite colourful, and I thought they were going to go the route with him and make him kind of this real cool kingpin, but no, he looks like Pablo Escobar. Bad shirts, paunch, smokes too much, bit of a womanizer. He plays him brilliantly. The way that the show runs, each episode kind of tells a little portion of how the business was working and how their lives were running during that time. I knew a bit about these stories. I knew a bit about Pablo Escobar, having dabbled in drugs myself in the past, sir. It's always interesting to know where this shit comes from. These were some nasty ass bastards. They really were. There's one scene which I'm gonna just briefly touch on, where Pablo Escobar and his cousin are stopped on this bridge. They're trying to transport all these, hooky goods across the bridge, and they get stopped by these. There's 6 members of the army, and the army are basically saying, right, we're going to check your truck, and anything we find on there, we're going to fine you for, or we're going to take it. And they do all this. They're looking through the truck, and they look at Pablo Escobar, and they say to him, you're going to have to pay us this, or you're going to have to do this, or we're going to arrest you, like that. And then just within a split second, Pablo Escobar looks around at all of them and kind of goes, and how's your wife? I hear she's just taken her driving test and blah blah blah, and your daughter, she's just and he basically knows everything about all of them, and he basically, the deal he gives them is they can either be paid in lead or silver, which I think is a great line. So he's either going to shoot them or he's going to pay them. That kind of epitomises exactly who the character was, and again, for those of you who don't know a great deal about Pablo Escobar, he was taken out eventually. He was on the run, and he was shot on a rooftop by a bunch of agents. But this is obviously pre that. It has got a second season, so we'll obviously get to that point in the second season. But please watch the first season. It's a great show. It's really, really, really well shot. It's really interestingly put together, and it's got probably one of the quickest cameos from David Arquette that I've ever seen, and I would have thought he would have been pushing for more work because, quite frankly, he's not done much as he's since Scream, bless him. But yeah, a good show, Narcos. You can see that on Netflix.
Cool, thank you, sir. My quick hit this week is a TV show. And it's a very funny TV show, and the reason I'm doing it is because it's probably the only show that I'm watching in the minute that actually makes me laugh out loud. I will be killing myself laughing watching this.
Much like my last week's Rick and Morty.
Indeed. And it is called Impractical Jokers. Now, this has been showing over here on Comedy Central, but I thought I'd mention it now because it's just started on Channel 5 as well. Channel 5 are just starting to show it from the beginning. It's very hard at the moment to turn on Comedy Central without coming across an episode of Impractical Jokers. What it basically is 4 lifelong friends who grew up together in Staten Island. You've got Brian Quinn, who's known as Q. You've got James Murray, who's known as Murr. You've got Sal Vulcano and Joe Gatto. And the premise of the show, they did actually have an English version of the show with some English comedians, but it didn't take off the way that this has. And so what they do is they effectively just embarrass each other. It's like a hidden camera show, but they will put themselves into various circumstances whereby they could be in Central Park, they could be in a deli, they could be in a supermarket, they could be at a burger joint, they could be on a pier. And what they have to do, they have to go up and do things with people, with the others in their ear, telling them what they have to say and what they have to do in order to cause maximum embarrassment. And what happens is, if they agree to do it, they will get a thumbs up and they pass. If they fail to do it, then they get a thumbs down. There's normally 3 actions per show, so therefore the most you can get is 3 thumbs up or 3 thumbs down. The person who's the loser in any week has to pay a forfeit, and the forfeit is them getting this person to do the most embarrassing thing they could possibly do. And some of them are just cringeworthy. Some of them are like having to going out to perform their song or their dance number in front of a baseball stadium when they don't know. So basically they just have to go and they say, so here, ladies and gentlemen, is so-and-so, and they're going to sing their song for you, Butterflies Are Wonderful. And this person then has to make up a song called Butterflies Are Wonderful. There was a great one where Joe was the loser in one of last week's shows, and they dragged him up as he was dressed as a woman in full makeup and wig and dress and everything, and he had to go out on a catwalk with all these models. So there's all these models lined up ready to go, and one of them goes and the other one goes, and he's standing there, he's going, I can't believe I'm going to have to do that. But then they turn around and they say, right, Joe thinks that he's going out to perform on a catwalk. He isn't. Who's out there is a load of technical experts, and Joe has to give them a presentation on this latest piece of software. So he then walks out expecting a catwalk and goes, oh my god, there's his cue. And then they say, here, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Joe Gatto, who's going to be giving you a presentation on the latest. And he said he knows nothing about it, and he's in full drag. It is absolutely hilarious.
I have seen some of the English version, and I must admit the English version didn't tickle me at all.
Right.
But I have also seen 2 episodes of the American one, and I thought it was far funnier.
It is jaw-dropping. And of course we have met one of the 4.
Have we?
We have.
When
because in September 2011, we went up to see Space Monkeys. And, and Brian Q. Quinn is one of the Space Monkeys. Because the reason I knew about this...
I had a picture taken with him.
You did?
Yes.
The reason that I knew about this show is because he is one of the 3 guys who does the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast, which I listen to.
Yeah.
And so, we met him and got photos and everything and shook his hand. And so, and this was funny enough, that was when they were just starting to film the first season.
Right, okay, that's
so they just started.
That will make me more likely to actually. That will make me more likely to actually watch this. I think. Yes. I've seen a couple of episodes of it, and I must admit it is bloody funny.
It is a hilarious.
It's something I think that the American comedians do a lot better than we as English comedians. Yeah. I mean, we do good improv, but I think in situations like that, we're a little bit too. Oh no, I couldn't do that sort of thing. I think the English one didn't it have it was three guys and a girl, wasn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
It just wasn't great.
It was Marek Larwood
from
Roshin Connerty.
That's it, yeah.
Joel Dammit or Joel Dummett or something, and Paul Paul McDonald or something.
What's the other guy? What's the guy's name?
Marek Larwood.
He's a scary looking man, isn't he?
Because
he was in I Am. What are they called? There was his comedy troupe.
Oh yes.
I want to say I Am Clute, but that's the band.
I can't remember. Yes, but yeah, him
with Greg.
But
Baines,
yeah, it's a brilliantly hilarious show. I mean, probably my favourite forfeit ever is Brian Quinn, because they always call him Fat Rosie O'Donnell, and and he had to go and present again to a load of scientists about some of his inventions, which he had to make. He just had props and he had to make stuff up on the spot. And then the last one was he had a cloning machine. And he's standing there and he says, right, now I'm going to do the cloning machine. And he turns it on, and then all the lights go out, and then it all goes, and then it comes on again, and the door opens, and out steps Rosie O'Donnell as his clone.
Excellent.
And he's obviously trying not to laugh. She's dressed exactly as him, and it was one of the funniest things I've seen.
Fair play to her for doing it.
Absolutely.
As well. Good on him.
Yeah, it's a great show. So yeah, check it out. It's on Channel 5 from the start, but as I say, throw a rock at Comedy Central and you'll find it. Yeah, you will hit an episode of Impractical Jokers. So yeah, give that a go.
Excellent stuff.
And now we should move on to this week's main topic.
When they got the ball, you know they won't drop it. The Geek-Minded fools discuss the main topic.
Okay, for this week's main topic, we wanted to talk about a TV show that has just started on the Stars channel over in the States, and it's based on a movie franchise of which we are both big fans, and so it was obviously something that's going to be right up our street, and that is Ash vs. Evil Dead, the pilot episode of which obviously directed by Sam Raimi. The starters they want to go on. So, Scott, what did you think?
What did I think? I fucking love it. I think it's absolutely genius. I have not smiled so much at a TV show in a long time. I genuinely was grinning from ear to ear. I watched the first episode twice. And I mean twice back to back, because I just thought it was so bloody good. Bruce Campbell is amazing anyway. One qualm I had with it was the fact that they have gone very, very heavy on the comedic slobby Ash, which I think he was created more throughout the comics than he ever was in the films. Maybe in Army of Darkness, yeah, he does become a little bit more nonchalant about things, but I can't fault it. I mean, the two episodes that have come out so far, I really can't fault it, and I'm very interested to know what you think of it.
Well, funny enough, you watched them first and said to me, you don't think I'm going to like them. And I hate to say, but you couldn't have been more wrong.
Good stuff.
I thought they were absolutely superb.
Aren't they brilliant?
I thought it was fantastically tongue-in-cheek. I get what you're saying about Slob Ash and almost becoming a parody character, but I kind of like that, because to me that's playing to Bruce Campbell's strengths.
Yeah, he's well wearing
He
now,
plays that superb.
Yeah.
And it's equal parts very good physical comedy, laugh out loud stuff, alongside proper gross out humour, and also some real sort of nasty scary bits as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course the Deadites are always going to be scary.
Absolutely.
But they've done them really well in this. They've really, really been very loving with their recreation of them from the films. It's all about the voice and the eyes with the Deadites.
Oh, yes.
You know, if you haven't got the white eyes and the I'll swallow your soul voice, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But the opening episode for me that was just glorious. That moment where he realises that he's fucked up.
Yes.
What a great, great way to start your show. To have it just be in the fact that he wanted a shag and got stoned.
He got stoned with a girl, and to impress her, brought out the book.
So you like poetry, huh?
Well, because he experiences something, and he goes, "What's going on there?" And he opens up, brings out the Book of the Dead, and inside is a little bag
of weed
with joints in it. And he just goes, "What?" And then he suddenly flashes back to him reading from the Book of the Dead to impress a girl, just going, "Oh shit!"
Just go, "Oh fuck!" For me, another standout moment of the first episode, again, doesn't involve gore, and it doesn't involve the Deadites at all. It's him in the bar with the wooden hand, putting his hand on the bar and making the big clonk noise. No one ever tells you not to put your hand in front of a speeding train, but I saved that kid. Just so you can get a shag. Again,
absolutely.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Really, really good cast as well.
Yes.
I was very, very impressed by his supporting cast. The young lad who's playing Pablo.
Yeah.
When I'd seen the stills of the show before it had aired, I looked at that particular actor and just thought, God, he just doesn't look like he's going to fit at all. But I couldn't have been any more wrong. He fits perfectly, doesn't he? He really does fit perfectly. I really like the soundtrack as well.
Yes.
It's every inch Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert and Ivan Raimi's original vision.
This is, I mean, stylistically, the whole show just, you feel like you're right back in Army of Darkness, because obviously, you know, you plot the progression not only of the movies and Raimi's style, but also Campbell throughout the 3 films.
Yeah.
And this feels stylistically so much like Army of Darkness. It's just fantastic. And you know, little moments like, for example, when he first gets the chainsaw out and the neighbours coming in and attacking him, and there's that great scene where Pablo throws him the chainsaw and he's diving across, sort of stump first,
and then it goes into that awesome 70s track, which the name of it escapes me. It's that dun, 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 and it's just brilliant.
It's amazing, so good.
There's no shortage of gore in it.
No,
it's for a TV show, which I'm not sure what time it airs in the States. I mean, whether it goes out at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I don't know, but it is very, very gory.
Well, of course, the problem is over there, because coast to coast you've got a 3-hour time difference. You know, you put something on at 10 o'clock and it's either going to be 7 o'clock in the evening, or if you put it on at 10 o'clock West Coast, and that's 1 in the morning. I can only imagine that it's got to be midnight East Coast, which would be 9 p.m. West Coast. Otherwise, you know, you're just screwing your audience.
Of course, as well, it did air as well, I think, in a very coveted time as well, didn't it? It came out on Halloween night as well, which was a really, really, a very, very clever idea. It was a coup, a real coup to pull that off.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it has been approved for a second season as well.
Before the first episode aired,
3 days before it had even gone out, which
is great,
which is absolutely brilliant. So,
how many episodes is it?
It's going to be 10 episodes, and I think what's most beautiful about it is that it was initially written in mind to be the 4th movie.
Oh, okay.
Following on from Army of Darkness, but they just had so much material. They kind of said, well, let's just make a TV show. We can do that now.
Yeah.
You know, this is not something you could have done in 1981. There would have been no way you could have aired a TV show based on the Evil Dead in the 80s at all.
I love the fact that they've also used the camera tracking through
Samocam
or
Ramocam.
It's just, you know, that's still there and used to full effect. And I also like the fact that the Deadites are sort of taking over people briefly and then sort of leaving them again, like for example the neighbour and of course the woman he was shagging in the ladies in the bar, saying we're coming to get you or something, and he's like, what, hang on.
Absolute genius.
Then still decides to finish off.
Of course. Of course. He does say, he says a line, I think it's either I think it's possibly in the second episode, and I think he's kind of referencing that without getting a smack on the chin he can't even get his nut up, which I think is brilliant.
A great line, yes,
because it's obviously set 30 years after the events of the second film, it would be, I think, the third film rather, 30 years after. But there's a lovely moment where he's explaining to Pablo, you know, exactly what's gone on, and he basically just does the whole narration from Evil Dead. You know, the gun into my hand, it went bad, so I left it off at the wrist.
Yeah, and
it's almost like he's said that to so many people over the years now. He's just tired of saying it.
Yeah.
But it's really lovely to see him playing a character that effectively made him. That was the start of his career.
Absolutely.
And you know, I'm sure Bruce Campbell will go on to do many, many other things, and he's done many, many other things in the past. But to me, Bruce Campbell, he is Ash, and no one could ever play Ash. No. You know, I enjoyed the Evil Dead remake. I must admit, I thought it was quite good, the Chilo Fernandez remake. And I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed it for being a real gore fest and a real scare fest as well.
You almost had to sort of forget that it was Evil Dead and therefore just enjoy it as a horror film without the baggage of it being a remake of a classic.
No, indeed. I mean, but there is that after-credits scene that does feature Ash in that as well. So I'm wondering if they are going to cross the 2 universes over. Okay. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously the remake doesn't really leave much room for comedic beats.
No.
Whereas, you know, the original 3 movies do. And obviously, this is very heavy on the yucks, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very heavy on the laughs.
Yeah,
I'm really, really excited to see where they go with it, because obviously you've got Lucy Lawless is in there as Nobi as well, who's obviously a relative of Professor Nobi, who records the tape, doesn't he, for the reading of the Necronomicon.
When at that diner she stepped out, I thought, is that Lucy Lawless? Is that? And of course, Mimi Rogers played the mum in the second episode as well. So they're pulling in some names. You know, it's.
I think now, you know, 2015, looking back at 81 when the original film came out, I think it is a very, very loved franchise of films.
Absolutely.
I think there are a lot of people who will come out of the woodwork, big name actors who will go, do you know what, I'll have a bit of that because that looks like it's going to be
Which is
fun.
amazing when you think it was banned as a video nasty.
I know.
And now just has so many fans, so much love for that franchise. And as I mentioned previously, ironically, something that was considered a video nasty is now, whenever it's on telly, they always say offbeat horror comedy.
Offbeat horror comedy, indeed.
And it's like, video nasty to that. It's.
I mean, if you look at the first film, it has got moments of comedy in it, but it is nowhere near the comedic piece that the second movie is, Dead by Dawn.
Absolutely.
Which effectively was a remake, wasn't it,
Yes.
of the first film,
Yes.
and then we move on to Army of Darkness, which is just very, very comedy heavy with
play
the
for the laughs, yeah.
Give Me Some Sugar Baby and
Yeah.
All Hail the King and all that.
I mean, and that's what's nice about the progression. I mean, in the first film, Ash is sort of very much the coward. He's trying to escape it, doesn't want to be there. There's that scene at the end where he's sort of locking himself away and trying to hide away from it all. He is very much sort of the coward of the piece.
Yeah.
And in the second one, he almost, due to what's going on and, the hand business and that, becomes a bit of a man.
Yeah.
And yet, in the third one, develop that onward to this lovable hero kind of thing. He shows his more heroic chops.
Yeah,
and therefore it is a journey for the character, which is great.
The biggest difference, obviously, now that we're in 2015, 30 years later, is evident in the opening scenes of Ash getting ready to go out, because you think he's strapping on his chainsaw, don't you? Because he's got the... And you see all that and you realise he's putting on a girdle.
It's a corset. He's tightening up to pull his gut in.
Ooh, still got it. Yeah, he is a fabulous actor and a fabulous comedic actor.
Yeah.
He's just lucky, I suppose, that he's still got enough left in him to be able to do these jumping over cars and sort of flying through the air and things like that. I know there's a lot of special effects used in these TV shows, but I mean it's still quite a physical role for him.
Absolutely.
I think it's just nice for me to see the shotgun and the chainsaw back. To
Absolutely,
the boomstick and the chainsaw.
Yeah,
best kill so far, I think, for me has got to be the shoving the Deadite's head in the cupboard and then boomstick behind his head for good measure.
Bang.
Was just brilliantly done. I also really like the inclusion of the police officer character. I think she's brilliant.
Yes.
I think that's really nice to have a character who knows nothing about this universe, kind of trying to find out about it. And I think
and obviously it is sort of off work. She's on sort of psych leave or something because they. It was her going back to the house and sort of seeing the scrap of his clothing on the antlers.
She knew it happened.
And therefore saying it did happen.
It did happen.
Yeah, so that's an interesting arc that we can explore as well, yeah. And funnily enough, of course, Bruce Campbell has said when it was renewed, he was quoted saying it's unusual for him to have a successful TV show as the lead, because normally any pilots that he's done as the lead have failed miserably, and yet any shows he does as a sidekick, like for example Burn Notice, are the ones that tend to do well. So it's actually nice for him to have a lead in a successful show.
I mean, for my money, he's already been the lead in a successful show, which was The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., which I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was just a fabulous show. It was like a very silly Indiana Jones kind of show, but it was just really good. I think probably for the fact that I just love Bruce Campbell so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, when the Spidey movies were coming out, that was equally as important now as the Stan Lee cameo, wasn't it? To see who Sam Raimi was going to get Bruce Campbell to play, and he didn't let us down in any of those. No. I thought he was brilliant. So I've talked very briefly about my favourite Deadite kill, but I think my favourite Deadite thus far has got to be obviously I believe she's supposed to be a French girl, who's the girl who he's reading the poetry to. What a brilliantly realised effect that was.
Spinning her head round.
And then, but it's
backwards.
It's the arms when they crack.
That's right.
So they can move properly. That is, and it's a physical effect. That's actually there.
Yeah.
That's a mask that's been made and put on the back of her head, and the arms. It is brilliantly done. For those of you who don't like, I suppose you would call it body horror, that'd be a moment for you to look away and maybe cover your ears for the cracks of the bones. But I think this is going to be a really successful 10-episode run. And I think that the next season can only go one louder, as it were. Yeah, we're so lucky in this day and age having the ability to put things like this out as TV shows, because especially for gore hounds and horror fans like me who love this kind of shit, it's manna from heaven for me. I was so excited watching that first episode twice in one night, and then the second episode again didn't let me down at all. So all hail the king!
Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt.
Indeed.
Right, are you done, sir?
I'm all Ash versus the Evil Deaded out for now, yes.
Nice. Cool. Right, well, that's your lot for this week's show. So, for myself, Graham.
And myself, Scott.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.